Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. And on today's episode, we have a fantastic, absolutely amazing leadership development strategist that is joining us today. We have LaSchell Steward here today, and I tell you, I am so excited that she decided to co-host the mini-series on trauma leadership and leadership and trauma in corporations, and also in leadership and entrepreneurship. I tell you, I am so excited. How are you today?
I am wonderful, Dr. Liz. How are you?
I am super excited that you are here. I tell you, I can't contain myself because you are such a wealth of information and you exude excellence. I'm going to throw the ball in your court just so you can let everybody know why I'm so excited that you were the co-host tonight.
Yes, you know what? And based on our long friendship and history, I'm so excited to be partnering with you today. So this just for me is it for me as well as just super exciting. So thank you for thinking of me and inviting me. So, as the founder and the chief development strategist of Strategic Leadership Solution, I lead a premier consultancy firm dedicated to fostering growth at all levels of the organization, through innovation, training, programs, and strategic guidance. We pride ourselves in empowering leaders, groups, and teams to reimagine their talent lives, their resources, their culture, and their business strategies through introspection for unparalleled success. And so, thank you again for inviting me.
My goodness, this mini series is going to be so jam-packed. I mean, with so much powerful information, but not just information, but realistic strategies that you can implement into your everyday right now. And that's what we're about, real solutions. So before we actually get into the conversation, can you answer a question for me? What does Get Trauma Informed mean to you?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. So for me, being trauma informed isn't just a term, it's a philosophy, right? I believe it's a way of being. It's about recognizing that trauma isn't just an individual experience, it's a collective one that impacts us all, right? Being trauma informed means approaching every interaction and decision with sensitivity, compassion, and a commitment to promoting healing and resilience. It's about creating spaces where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued, and where we acknowledge the profound impact that trauma can have on individuals, others, and even communities.
That is so powerful. That is such a powerful statement. When we're talking about digging or deep diving into, how organizations, how corporations, if they were more, trauma informed, then they would understand that some of their actions and even some of their policies re-traumatize people because they just don't understand. And I think, and I go back, I know we're talking corporate, but, even in scripture, it says, for the lack of knowledge, our people perish. And, so re-traumatizing people without having knowledge on how to properly handle them is like a huge issue. And we want to knock down some of those barriers to great performance, right? And to communication. So one of the things I wanted to talk with you about is how does trauma and leadership intersect in your opinion? How does that intersect?
Well, let's talk about that. So, for me, when you think about trauma in leadership, which is another great question and one that hits close to home for me. You know, the intersection of trauma and leadership is profound and multifaceted. On one hand, Liz, leaders themselves may carry the scars of past traumas, which can deeply influence their leadership and communication style, their decision making, and their interactions with others. And as a trauma survivor myself, I understand firsthand how these experiences shape our perspectives and behaviors in both our personal and professional settings. But you know, it's not just about leaders, our own experiences of trauma. You know, it's also about the impact of trauma within the organization, that ripple effect. You know, traumatic events, whether they're isolated incidences or systemic issues, can create toxic cultures marked by fear, distrust, and dysfunction, like you talked about in policies and procedures. And as leaders, it's our responsibilities to recognize and address these dynamics, you know, fostering environments of safety, trust, and healing is and should be our number one priority within these concepts. And furthermore, I just believe that, you know, trauma affects everyone and every individual differently. So leaders must be attuned to the diverse needs and experiences of their team members as well. That means creating the space, you know, for open dialogue, um, you know, providing support and resources for those who need it, and you know, maybe prioritizing the well-being of every member of the organization, not just a few. You know, so ultimately, the intersection of trauma and leadership underscores the importance of empathy, and we're right back at that compassion, and also resilience in our approach to leading others. And by embracing trauma-informed leadership practices, we can create these organizations where these individuals feel valued, supported, and empowered, Liz, to thrive.
That is so important and so key. And I thank you so much for all that you bring to the table and just setting the stage. You know, we're laying a foundation because we're going to get into some conversations that, you know, are going to open us up, and we are going to be really transparent in our trauma stories. You know, that's what this movement is all about, you know, getting the real results. And we feel that, you know, by doing that, you know, by being transparent, we're able to do that. You talked about safety and trust. You know, that is so important in the work environment, in the organization environment, even in our home environments. We must feel a sense of safety. We must feel a sense of trust, and we must have a space for us to recover and for us to heal. And that is so important. And I think that's something that's overlooked when we're looking at just the bottom line. We're putting together all of these, you know, these SOPs, and you know, at the end of the year we're putting together our annual you know, our annual policies, and we're putting together all of this information, but we leave out the heart of it, and that is the people. So when we
Yes,
leave out the heart of it, we miss the target altogether. So
yes,
I love that we're going to unfold this thing. We're going to unravel this thing. We're going to have some trauma talks. We're going to really get down to the bare bones of this so that we can start building on a solid foundation, and so that we can reach people, and so that people are actually hearing the message of, wait a minute, there's something more that I can be doing. There's so much more that I can do in human resources or in my entrepreneur endeavors, or when I'm speaking with clients, or speak
yes,
whatever arena. Like you said, it touched everything, every facet, every part of us. And I love the fact that you and I both are willing to come to the table and speak our truth and tell our story. That's
yes,
how people heal. That's how people recover and realign. I mean, that's part of my realignment. And this whole get trauma informed movement is a part of my realignment, my recovery. So this is so personal to me, but I'm so excited to be able to share that conversation with other people. And I'm so excited to share this conversation with you.
Thank you. Yes, I as well. Thank you. That was so great. I love how you talked more about that trust. You know, we must we have to, you know, bring together these types of environments that actually help us to help people to feel safe with their leaders and their organizations and their teammates. And that is just critical for not only that person individually to thrive, but for the organization and the team to achieve that excellence as well. So great point, Liz.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get to another one of our questions here. How has trauma empowered and inspired you?
Ooh, I love that one. Okay, so trauma has been a profound catalyst for growth and transformation in my life. Through my experiences with organizational trauma, including workplace burnout, it compelled me to confront my own vulnerabilities and weaknesses head on. These challenges taught me invaluable lessons in resilience and self-care, shaping my understanding of compassionate leadership. It really took me to another level with compassionate leadership, something that I was not practicing as a leader myself. Okay. And as a leader myself, to myself and others, that was important for me. And I was so thankful for that self-discovery. But furthermore, the organizational trauma I experienced has deepened my empathy for others who are struggling. And it's motivated me to use my voice, my talents, and my platform through stratagems to advocate for change and to create supportive environments for those in need. Yep.
That is so important and it's so key. And I know some of our listeners are saying, wow, she is such an amazing resource and such an amazing coach. We are going to make sure that everybody is able to get back in contact with, all of with our co-hosts here, she's not going away. She's not going anywhere, y'all. We're going to open up some conversation. Like I said, today we are here to lay a foundation. So get your notebooks out, your journals out, and we are going to take you on a journey. We're going to understand the depths of trauma and how it does affect us in every facet, every area, every part of our life, and how even our decisions, how it affects our DNA. So y'all, we got some talks for you. We got some discussions and some conversations coming up for you. So LaSchell, what would you say to someone faced with trauma?
What would I say if I could give just, offer one piece of advice, Dr. Liz, to someone who has experienced trauma? It would be this. It'd be based on my own experience because I can't talk about anything else, but do know that you're not alone and your past does not define you. Healing from trauma is a deeply personal journey, one that unfolds at its own pace, at its own pace. And it's okay to seek support and ask for help when you need it. Surround yourself with people who uplift and support you, and don't hesitate to lean on them during challenging times. Remember, and Dr. Liz will tell you here, healing is possible, okay? And you possess inner strength and resilience beyond measure. Man, it was so hard for me to see that, but it's there. And another key advice I would give, Dr. Liz, is be gentle with yourself and acknowledge your worthiness of love, healing, and happiness. Find solace in your faith or spiritual practices, whatever that looks like for you, and trust in the power of surrendering your struggles to your higher power. And that would be my advice.
Wow, that was, I'm telling you, it's going to take us weeks to unpack everything because you just said a mouthful. You talked about the support system. See, in trauma recovery, we talk about removing yourself from toxic people, toxic places,
Yes.
and toxic habits. And in order
Yes.
to do that, we don't just say go cold turkey on it, but you have to replace it with what you just said, a support system. And that's
Yes.
what we're building here is a support system of trauma-informed coaches, trauma-informed leaders, trauma-informed entrepreneurs, so that we can build up that resiliency, that we can build it, and it's a building process. And that's something that I had to learn myself. I had to learn that it is a building process. It is a building of your self-care plan, your self-care program, and knowing that there is possible to come out of that deep hole that we find ourselves in. And one of the things that I absolutely adore about you, LaSchell, is that you are open to sharing your experience like and I think that's how we came back around full circle to even talk about co-hosting a mini series, is that we felt the trauma, we felt the resistance as we started working together, but we were open and we made it a safe space for us to work together. And so bringing this information about trauma informed leadership, bringing this information from a place of transparency, because we both been through it. I mean, we've
Yes.
suffered trauma on multiple levels in multiple organizations, and so we're going to have the hard conversations, because that's the only way that we can bring the truth and the healing to our community, is to absolutely be transparent and to talk about what trauma really is. I haven't heard it talked about as open as we are willing to be with this trauma movement. And and not that is, we're in our recovery, because when you're gone through trauma, you're constantly in an evolving state, because you're realizing, as you're peeling that onion open, you're realizing more and more. And as you grow, the air just gets better and it gets better, and you're able to breathe more freely. You're able to walk more freely. You become more empowered. You become more inspired. And now you're able to help more people at a greater and a deeper level. And we're talking about leaders and entrepreneurs and anybody that trauma has ever touched. Is there anything else you want to add to our conversation for today?
Liz, I just think that, again, healing from trauma it's a deep and personal journey. Again, it's okay to seek support. And also, it's a catalyst for growth, right? There's a time when I faced intense workplace burnout, like I spoke to about earlier, due to excessive workload, dysfunctional leadership, and toxic organizational cultures. So this experience forced me to confront my own weaknesses. And that's something that's going to be important that I also want to leave everybody with. Do take that journey of self-discovery and continue to develop, personally and professionally. And that's what I would really like to leave the audience with today. I think it's just profound in that recovery, and it really helps move you to the next level. It really does.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's a good place, to leave our people with today, understanding that this is a journey, and it is a journey of self-discovery, and it's a journey of being honest with yourself. And oftentimes, if you're not even aware of the effects that trauma have had on you, if you don't know, if you're not aware of that, then you don't even know that there's steps that you need to take to recover. But if things seem to never work out for you, or if you're always feeling overwhelmed, or if you're always in we call it the fight, flight, or freeze mode, where
Yeah.
you're always hyper vigilant, and there's always a level of distrust, and sometimes you even feel like you can't trust yourself. If any of those things, if any of those things are present, then it might be a time to just sit back and reevaluate and see, are there things in my life that have caused me trauma on a level deeper than what I actually am aware of? And if that's the case, we invite you to be a part of the Get Trauma Informed movement, and we will continue to bring you information that is going to help you to be empowered and be inspired. So with that, I thank you so much for co-hosting this mini series journey with me. And I just thank you so much for all that you bring to the table. I'm excited to lock arms with you, and I'm excited to see where this is going to take us, y'all. It's going to take us already to places that we could never imagine. It's already done some things for us already. And we'll continue to unfold that as we continue to move forward in this Get Trauma Informed movement. Again, I thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to you all joining us for the next session in our mini series.
Thank you,
Bye for
Dr.
now.
Blair.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
Bye. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you are collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.